We are live now.
Thank you. We'll call to order a meeting for the Normal Town Council for Monday, April 5th, 2021. Please call the roll.
Mayor Coos,
Here.
Mr. McCarthy,
Here.
Ms. Cummings,
Here.
Mr. Nord,
Here.
Ms. Smith,
Here.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Here.
Mr. Preston.
We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The governor has issued a disaster declaration related to the public health concerns caused by the statewide COVID-19 pandemic. As mayor, I've determined that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of the risk of exposure to the COVID-19 virus stemming from an indoor gathering, and that the remote meeting is in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the council, the staff, and the general public. I also have another little, on advice of council, another little note to read. With the municipal election occurring tomorrow, I want to remind everybody of the ground rules for tonight's meeting. This is a meeting for the purposes of conducting public business. It is not an appropriate forum for campaigning or electioneering. Political campaigning is not a valid public business for this body to consider, and using this meeting's resources for political campaigning may violate Illinois law. I'm asking members of the public, staff, and council members to keep their comments to public business and refrain from political campaigning. The first order of business is the Omnibus Agenda items considered routine and will be taken with one vote unless the council members would like to pull an item for discussion.
Mayor Coos, if I could interrupt, we do have a public commenter.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Mr. Logan, I apologize. We do have one public comment tonight. Mr. J. Logan, and if you are ready, ask you to just state your name, address if you prefer, and your comments are limited to 3 minutes. Thanks, Mr. Logan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And first, let me say thank you and the council for giving me this opportunity to speak. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of all of the membership of Local 99 Plumbers and Pipe Fitters. And first, I'd like to tell you that we've been laying water main in the town of Normal in the city of Bloomington for 74 years in my records here alone. I have friends who have pictures on their walls of Mr. Gilner's grandfather laying it over 100 years ago in this town. And what we've got, I know, coming up on the agenda tonight is this possibly awarding this project to SNC, an out-of-town contractor who uses only laborers to lay this water main. When I go into your spec book and read everything about prevailing wage laws and stuff, I find nothing in the Department of Labor that they have an accredited apprenticeship program to even do this work. I reached out to SNC on the Main Street, Center Street project and tried to get them to let me put a licensed plumber on that project, which they denied. And now I understand you're getting ready to possibly award them this project over here on Oakdale Avenue. And what I would ask of the committee is to consider, you know, all of the water services and everything on there. And I would ask you to consider tabling this until we can do some more research. I would like to see their documentation of their apprenticeship training there, because I don't believe they have it, for starters, through DOL. It's area of practice here for Local 99. Like I say, we've been doing it for many, many, many years. And I'd just like to have an opportunity to do some more research on what's going on over there. of course, they're out-of-town contractors. Those tax dollars are going away when they leave with them. And that's another one of our concerns here. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. And now we move to the omnibus agenda. Items that will be taken with one vote unless a council member would like to pull items. And I see Ms. Smith.
Yes, I would like to pull item D.
Item D is a dog.
Yes.
Motion for approval, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. North.
Thank you. I'd like to pull item A, B, C, and F.
Now I will take a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. The item, one item considered for omnibus tonight is a resolution authorizing a contract with Air Construction Incorporated for the 2021 sanitary sewer lining contract in the amount of $963,472.80 and authorizing an associated budget adjustment. Please call the roll.
Mr. McCarthy,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mayor Kus.
Aye, the resolution is approved. Item A is approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting of March 15th, 2021, and approval of the minutes of the special council meeting of March 29th, 2021. Mr. Nord.
I so move.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Nord.
Thank you. For the minutes of the council meeting, I would like to add, let me find my Cerise had sent. So under the minutes, under the discussion of the zoning map, I would like to add language that I had asked a question and the mayor had refused to give the staff the floor to answer my question, because the minutes then go into detail about what happened after that with points of order and talking with council.
Ms. Rees or Ms. Honker, if you would reference back to what was said in that letter that you sent out, I think it would help with the council.
Sure. Mr. Nord had originally requested in an email today that that the minutes be considered for modification to include language where the mayor refused to allow staff to speak. And I sent Mr. Nord an email response back indicating that we looked at the video and we don't think that was exactly what transpired. After looking at the video, it would appear that the mayor did not relinquish the floor to staff. And I think
Yes.
that is what Mr. Nord is requesting be added to the minutes.
So the language we want to add is that the mayor did not relinquish the floor to Mr. Nord.
Correct. And that would be prior, I believe so. I don't want to speak for Mr. Nord, but I believe that would be prior to Councilmember McCarthy's point of order.
Mr. Day, I think, do we have to take this in the form of an amendment or just a change? And if we would need to vote on the change and then vote on the minutes. Is that correct?
It can be a change if nobody objects. If there's an objection, then Mr. Nord would make the motion and it would go to the decision of the council.
All right. Further on the item? Please call the roll.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy,
Aye.
Mayor Kus.
Aye. The minutes are approved. Item B is a report to receive and file town of normal expenditures for payment as of March 31st, 2021. Mr. Nord.
I so move.
Second.
Mr. Nord.
For this expense report, I had asked the town manager how much we had spent towards the underpass under this entire expense submittal, and it's $58,000 plus some change just for the past 2 weeks. She was not able to give an estimate as to how much staff time was included in that. So we don't know. And we also don't know how much staff time was allocated towards doing any other project. For a $130 million company or entity, that doesn't seem like we're managing our time very well. And I'm wondering, or my concern is how we can continue moving this project forward if we don't know the available bandwidth for our staff. And in the previous council meeting, I asked for an update as to how much we were going to be spending towards the underpass before I approved another budget. And for that reason is why I can't approve this budget tonight. But thank you, and I hope in the future we have an update at a 2-on-1 meeting or at a council meeting as to how much more money we're going to be spending on the underpass before we have a vote to authorize more. Thank you.
Ms. Smith.
I wanted to comment on Mr. Nord's continued persistence over the issue of whether or not staff time is able to be tracked for these projects. And I've had extensive email exchanges with him explaining that that is a separate cost accounting system, not financial accounting system. And that in some organizations that do have billable hours where projects are tracked in order to recoup the cost from clients, then a cost accounting system is implemented that requires individuals to keep track of all of their time throughout the day. That reporting is submitted for tracking and accumulating totals and then monitoring what time is spent on a wide variety of projects. This is done in law practices, it's done in accounting firms, but it is cumbersome and it's time consuming, and the town of Normal follows government accounting systems. It's not a cost accounting entity, and that this is why that does not exist.
Ms. Lorenz.
I would like to move the previous question. I think we're getting too far afield from receiving and filing. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I do that, Mr. Nord, did you have another bill issue that you wanted to speak to?
No, but thank you very much for asking.
So please call the roll.
Mr. Nord,
I mean, I'm sorry, I take that back. No, sorry.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mayor Kus.
Aye, the report to receive and file is approved. Item C is a resolution reapproving the third amended preliminary subdivision plan for the Vineyard subdivision at the southeast corner of Airport and Rab. Mr. Nord.
I so move.
Second.
Mr. Nord.
Thank you. Previously, I had asked Ms. Reese if this parcel or if this property had paid sanitary sewer tap-on fees, and they had. Now there's a sanitary sewer tap-on fee map, which I can either bring on screen or we've all seen this before, but this map shows that this area is not in that tap-on fee map area to be charged a tap-on fee. So knowing that we've collected this money, and as staff has told us, we shouldn't be, what do we tell the developer now?
I'm not exactly sure how to respond to that, Mr. Nord. I guess I'll ask Ms. Davison or Mr. Trummel if they have information about the sewer tap on issue, or perhaps even Mr. Otto. But if we don't have the answer readily available, I can get back to you. Ms. Davison or Mr. Trummel, do you have a response?
Sure, yeah, this development is subject to an annexation agreement, and that's one of the terms of the agreement.
I'm confused. We've had this conversation recently about other properties that were potentially going to be annexed in and ones that have been. And if they were not on the map, they were not charged. So how is it that these properties that have come before us here over these past couple months are following a different route? Why aren't they having it included in their annexation agreement?
Not every annexation has a separate agreement. So we would have to look up each individual annexation agreement and see what was negotiated in the past.
Well, I just want to put this on record that this is very inconsistent, and for a developer to come into the community and they look at this map and hear that they're not supposed to be charged, but then they are being charged and things, that makes it very uncertain as to what the process is. So we do need to have a conversation to set a process to make this very clear for, all parties, because we've got some big developments coming forward. And now on this map, we've got some areas that did get charged, others that did not. And my expectation is, until this map is updated, all new annexation agreements then follow the same precedents that this one did and get the tap-on fees included so taxpayers can have their investment recovered. Thank you.
Ms. Smith?
Thank you. Earlier in the day, I had asked for clarification on the number of lots included in this. I know this is a separate agreement, but given Mr. Preston's comments at the previous meeting about the housing demand, would someone be able to state those lots that are available in this plat going forward?
Yes, Ms. Davison has the information.
Sure. So the action before you tonight is for the preliminary plan for the remaining portion of the vineyards. Well, the whole thing. There are about 22 lots up in the northeast portion of the development that have not been platted yet, and there are about 30 in the southeast corner. So when the developer wants to develop those will come through as their own final plats.
Okay.
So it's 52.
Thank you.
Ms. Lorenz?
Yeah, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that this is really a good news item, and I don't want that to be overlooked. It's been a long time since we've had some new activity and new construction. So when I saw this in our packet tonight, I was pretty excited, and I look forward to the final plan coming to us in the coming weeks. So just don't want to lose sight of that piece of good news. Thanks.
Mr. Nord?
Thank you. One last question. Who is it that negotiates the annexation agreements?
Generally, it's been in the past the city manager and legal counsel with the developer. In this particular instance of the vineyards, it was annexed a number of years ago. I believe it primarily was the former city manager and legal counsel.
Okay, thank you.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Hi.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Mayor Kus.
Aye. The resolution is approved. Item D is a resolution to award the bid of the Oakdale, Ruston Grove, Margaret Water Main Replacement Project to SNC Construction Incorporated at a total cost of $610,764.92, plus up to a potential $7,500 bonus for early completion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Yes, I had some questions just to have on the public record, because this area of town has been a topic of conversation. If there was a very helpful piece highlighting the progression of how this percolated to the top of the priority, referencing that initially there were some scattered calls from residents in the area that were told to do flushing. I didn't understand what that was referring to. Could someone please clarify that for me?
Sure, Ms. Smith. I've asked Mr. Burkhart, the Director of Water, to be on the call. On this particular agenda item, we also have Mr. DeSplinter from Crawford Murphy Tilley, who worked with us in designing this project. But in your particular question, Mr. Burkhart can explain what we mean by flushing.
Yeah, if a homeowner calls with a water quality complaint to the town, usually walk through and ask them some various questions. You know, is it an issue that's only in a bathroom sink? Is it only on the hot water side, only on the cold water side? Usually we'll ask them to flush the house, and usually what that entails is asking them to run the water in the house, usually cold water only. You don't want to draw any potential discolored water or anything into the hot water heater. But flush the house until they get clean water running through those faucets.
Oh, okay. And so as I was reading the chronology presented in a news article today, it was indicating that there were scattered reports with no follow-up complaints by residents until about a year after the first call, at which time then it became apparent that it wasn't a problem isolated to the homeowner's plumbing, but possibly something, the water coming into the house. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, and the gist of the solution that's being presented here is enlarging the pipes serving this area of town and changing the material used to service these houses?
Yes, that's correct.
So what was it and what is it going to be instead now?
So currently, this system has 6-inch cast iron water main. We will be installing an 8-inch ductile iron main. And only reason it's going up a larger size is our manual practice. Minimum water main size that can go in town for town code is 8-inch. So 6-inch cannot be installed as a water main. It could be installed as a water service for commercial property, but not as a water main in town.
And although there were a limited number of homes that were reporting this problem, it doesn't make any sense to simply go from a 6-inch pipe to an 8-inch for those homes, correct?
Not in our opinion. This whole area was installed back in the late 50s, early 60s, and it was all put in at the same time frame. So if somebody's having an issue today, there's a good chance that somebody else in that area could have a problem tomorrow.
And you've already switched out some fire hydrants in an effort to correct the problem with some minimal dollars expended previously, correct?
Yeah, we added one new hydrant at the corner of Grove and Ruston to help us do unidirectional flushing. We'll shut inline valves or side tap valves, open hydrants, and we can strategically pull the water through the mains the way that we want, just to ensure that it gets flushed out properly. And
then to Ms. Reese, could you provide some insight into the RFP process? Because we did have a number of contractors respond to this, which was great to get this kind of response when we've had situations where we have one or two. So what changed in the effort to seek this and obtain this many results?
Well, I will in a moment actually defer that to Mr. Burkhart, but in recent projects that we've bid in terms of water main replacement, we have been successful in getting multiple bids. So this is good for our bottom line. I'll ask Mr. Burkhart to specifically address the bid package for this particular project, and also I respond to some of the comments that were raised during the public comment portion of your meeting this evening. I think Mr. Burkhart is prepared to provide information.
Please do. Thank you.
Typically, so on this project, we had SNC Construction, Stark Excavating, George Gilner, and Hare Construction. So the past, I think, 3 water main projects that we've had, those 4 contractors have bid on all those jobs. Kind of our 2 new ones was an Opperman Construction out of Pontiac, and then Walker Excavating out of Peoria. Walker's taken plans out in the past. For whatever reason, they've chosen not to bid jobs. Scott, he may be able to answer, why they chose to bid or not. I believe he's talked to them before the bid date. I'm not sure if he followed up with them after the bid date, but part of my guess is it's a project that's early in the construction season. They may not have other jobs, taking place right then. It most likely was probably just availability and timing of when this project was bid.
I believe my time may have expired, so I yield the floor. Thank you.
Mr. Nord.
Thank you. These pipes are, 70 years old, if my math is correct. Is there a policy that the town has for upgrading the pipes based on number of years in the ground, or is it just based on complaint basis only?
Kind of complaint basis. I mean, more so we track it if an area has kind of more main breaks than others, if it's failure prone, or if we do see any sort of quality issue. And sometimes those quality issues aren't necessarily from homeowner complaints. Sometimes we'll notice, discolored water, when we're flushing, and especially if it's for a couple years, it can be some internal observations, not just customer complaints.
The other thing I'll add, Mr. Burkhart, is every year we have a list of priorities in terms of capital investment for the water fund, meaning substandard water main replacement. And by substandard, typically it refers to the 6-inch area, the areas of town with the 6-inch main, and we're going strategically, if possible, around town to replace the 6-inch main, the old pipes, with newer material, larger 8-inch main. So we've done, I think over $18 million of water main replacements in the last 5 to 6 years.
Do we have any mains in town that are older than what this neighborhood has?
I'm sure that there is. We don't have a great record of dates for every pipe that's in the ground.
Okay, because these are corroding from the inside out, not the outside in. Otherwise, we have dirt falling in. I'd like at some point to kind of know what the age is, so we can kind of forecast where we expect problems to occur. If this one's lasted 70 years, I would assume we can extrapolate that to other similar type installations and give us some insight.
Sure. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Nord. I do want to point out that in the water fund capital investment program, Mr. Burkhart does project out the next 5 years in terms of water main replacement, and that's based on age and quality issues. So we have a pretty good indication of which areas of town should be addressed in upcoming capital investments.
Sure. This neighborhood wasn't on the CIP for another 2 years,
right,
and just recently got moved up because of the complaints and advocacy of folks in the community.
And I would say it's also because the fund balance is in pretty good shape, so we're able to be flexible with our projects, and so I'm excited that we're able to get this project done earlier than originally planned, for sure.
Sure, sure. And I expect that there's other places in town too, because, you know, this town has been around since before any of us were born. And, you know, a lot of these pipes were in the ground before we were born too. So, you know, it's natural that we have to replace them at some point.
Sure.
That I have no issue with. Just, it's more just for forecasting. But the other thing I would like is, Mr. Burkhart, whenever you guys flush pipes, especially, you know, in areas where you're getting the brown water coming out, could you please add that to the complaints? So that way the council kind of knows the issues that maybe residents may not be calling in about. Some folks had witnessed the flushing out in that area and had commented that the pipes or that the water coming out was brown. So that would be good information for the council to know again. So, you know, we can forecast, not just wait for someone to get upset enough that they reach out and contact the town. But with this,
I'm sorry, Mr. Nord, are you referring to the semi-annual times per year when we flush hydrants townwide, or what do you mean?
If he's going out to a neighborhood more often than whatever the standard routine is, and he's experiencing, or he's seeing that there's a lot of rust coming out of the water, or some sort of quality issue that neighbors just haven't, or residents haven't called and complained about, you know, to enter that into the complaint system. So that way we are aware, and hopefully we can be proactive in some areas versus reactive. Because it'll just make it easier for budgeting. You know, if you see this, say 2 years before a resident actually experiences it, then we'll be able to react or be proactive. I mean, that's really the only reason I'm requesting this. But at the end of the day, I am for this. I think that I believe this is a problem that exists beyond more than just 4 homes in that neighborhood, and I've been to, you know, many of the homes there. So I'm glad this has gotten moved up. If we can move up other areas that are in a similar situation in the future, then please don't hesitate to reach out to the council, because I would be supportive of being more proactive, especially if we know the age, because once something goes in the ground, it's going to start to decay and eventually it's got to be replaced. But thank you.
Ms. Lorenz.
Okay, thank you. You know, I want to pivot this conversation a bit back to the report, but first I will say that to build upon the last set of comments here, I believe we are proactive already. That's the job of the staff in the water department and Mr. Burkhart's leadership. There is a priority system. There is a general understanding of the age of the infrastructure in a given area, knowing when the homes were built and so forth. So I do believe that we do have a proactive system in place. So I just wanted to offer that up as a clarification. Where I'd like to go now, and perhaps Mr. Burkhart and some of his staff might be ready to speak to this. There was an interesting range of cost estimates to the projects that were the bids that were submitted, and this one with SNC actually came in about 30% lower than engineering estimates, and obviously even lower than a couple of the local bidders, even with the local preference adjustment made. So do we have any idea why that significant savings? I mean, I guess it's a good thing, but in light of the fact that this has been a very high profile issue project, I want to make sure that, you know, more than ever, that quality workmanship, and I guess this gets to our commenter at the start of the meeting, that can you speak to the assurances that were in the RFP to assure the quality of workmanship and you know, the proper expertise will be on site? Thank you.
Yeah, so water department has an employee inspect all water main replacement jobs that get done, even new construction, new subdivisions built. Water department has an employee on site at all times to ensure that town code is followed and that plumbing rules are followed as well. They've been on site working on the Main Street job that council awarded back in October. They've had some hiccups with the job, not necessarily all their fault. Some's been weather related. Some's been their problem. Subcontractors, some scheduling issues. One thing that Scott and I both and other members of the water department team are impressed with right now, every time they kind of come to a fork in the road, they've got, one or two good solutions to those issues. And they're taking a lot of time and thinking through everything. They have not asked for any sort of time extension on the project. They have not said that, hey, this is going to cost the town more money. They're taking ownership of everything themselves, and they know that it's their problem. The contract on Main Street was bid for X amount of dollars, and X amount of feet, and X amount of time, and they know, they know they have to reach that, or it ultimately falls back on penalties on them. I think some of the reason their price is lower, if you talk to a couple of their employees, they've got fairly low overhead. They don't have hundreds of pieces of equipment, 100 vehicles, lots of employees. They're a fairly small company. If the bid tabulation was included in the council packet, I'm not for sure how clean it come through in the copy process. But again, Mr. DeSplinter and ourselves have kind of gone through and evaluated some of the bid numbers. It really appears that SNC kind of won this project based off of 3 bid item numbers. One of those is their traffic control. And as I'm talking, I'm just double checking these numbers. I believe their traffic control was about $18,000 than another local contractor. And again, this is a difference of about $75,000 between them and the next low bidder. So $18,000 of that was in traffic control. They had a difference of about $45,000 for the HMA, the asphalt street replacement. And then the other one was their concrete surface replacement. Again, that was about another $17,000 difference. So if there wasn't such a large gap in kind of those 3 bid items, that gap gets narrowed up quite a bit. And I think they listed the same subcontractor for one of their, for the hot mix, the HMA replacement, as another contractor who didn't have the low bid. So they're using kind of the same people as some other contractors that bid the job as well.
I will also point out, again, one of the things that was mentioned during public comment was the bidder and not being a local bidder. We did apply the local bidder's preference to a couple of the bids that would qualify as a local bidder, and that did not change the outcome. So I just wanted to, and that was pointed out in Mr. Burkhart's council report.
Ms. Smith.
I think you're muted, Ms. Smith.
Thank you. Before this is called for a vote, I did want to have people, if they have the time, the Panagraph this morning had quite an extensive and comprehensive article on this topic that showed the chronology. And I believe that the reason we're dealing with this now is not because there was neglect on the town's part, but because there was a perception that when homeowners did not call back after attempting the remedies provided to them, that it took some time to recognize that this was a problem beyond 1 or 2 private residences. And with Ms. Lorenz, I think that the council does act proactively, and with that 5-year plan, it is welcome that we had a budget that allowed the flexibility to move this up in priority once it was understood that the problem required attention more immediate than we had previously engendered. And in deference to the public commenter, given the process for the request for proposal and the fact that this is coming in and saving the town and the taxpayers money, I would not be in favor of postponing moving forward with this work. Thank you.
Ms. Lorenz?
Yeah, thank you. And I did forget one other question. I'll make it brief. Back on the workforce, I just want to double check. Will local workers be used for this project? I'm just thinking about, you know, workforce and keeping it local and all that kind of good stuff. So do we know that from this particular contractor?
I don't know that we can say that all of their subcontractors will be local. We're certain that they will meet the bid specifications. We're also certain that they will use licensed plumbers when required to do so. Whether or not they'll get them from the local group or not, I don't know. I can't speak to that. Mr. Burkhart, do you have any inside information about that?
No, they do have to use a licensed plumber, and their plumbers that they use have to go through an accredited apprentice program as per the bid specs. So, you know, if they can find a plumber who's been through an apprentice program to do the work, they could sub them out to do it. If they contract with the local 99, you know, great. There's potential options out there for SNC to meet the requirements of the bid documents, and we will watch them very closely, make sure that they're doing it. If they aren't following the rules of the documents, the bid documents and the contract, then you know, the town will take steps to ensure that they follow those rules.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I don't want to belabor the point, but you know, this, like I said, we've talked about this one a lot. It's probably the for an ordinary project, we've certainly made it extraordinary. It'll be the most well-known 6-inch to 8-inch water main replacement project probably in a long, long while. So with that, I guess I'm just, you know, providing some additional scrutiny and would encourage local labor as much as possible. Thank you.
Mr. Nord?
Thank you. We've had the plumbers, the electricians, the local laborers, the painters union, and some of the trucking folks contact town council about some of the contracts and folks that come in to do jobs, and that a lot of the contracts that we have, they don't use local labor. They will bring folks in from out of the area. So I would like at some point for us to have a conversation to see if we would like to update our contract language to give some sort of, say, preferential treatment, kind of like we do for our local contractors, that if they use local labor, that, you know, maybe they get some sort of extra benefit. So at least we can keep the money local. You know, if it requires prevailing wage, that, you know, they use people that live here. And I know this is kind of off topic, but since we were talking about it, I thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McCarthy?
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to say I'm supportive of this project moving forward. I don't want to delay it for the neighborhood, and I'm happy we're able to move this forward and have the healthy fund balance to make this a reality. And I do want to lend support. I appreciate, Mr. Burkhart, that you're watching the contract and making sure we're having the right professionals on, and that we're going to have licensed plumbers on to do that work. Really appreciate that. And I, you know, whatever we can do to use local, I know our local community does appreciate that, and appreciate you guys rushing this job to get it done. I know you worked very hard to move this up and get it started. So I know the neighborhood appreciates it, and so do I. Thanks.
I'd like to take a minute, thank Scott and his staff at CMT. They worked hard to push this one on a pretty short timeline, so get everything through the state and everything else.
Please call the roll.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Kus.
Aye. The resolution is approved. Item F is a resolution to accept bids and award a contract to Herb Turf Equipment Incorporated for Ironwood Golf Course reel and bed knife grinders in the amount of $40,195. Mr. Nord?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Nord?
Thank you. According to the staff write-up on this, we don't use this a whole lot, and we do work for other, I guess, other municipal golf courses in the area. And my question was, how much is it if we just outsource this rather than buy the equipment and have the staff time, the maintenance, and all these other things? And the response I got back was that the cost is $190 a blade a year. And we're spending,
No.
that's what the response was. How many blades are there?
I'm going to ask Mr. Damry to take his camera, get his camera going, and be prepared to answer. I believe we have 22 blades, and it's 190 per blade per time it's sharpened, and they're sharpened multiple times a year. So maybe I mistyped my email, but it should have said $190 per blade each time they're sharpened. Is that Mr. Damry, you want to jump in?
Yeah, and actually it's that's per unit. A unit is a reel and then a bed knife. So yeah, so we have 22 of those units with 2 different types of blades that are done. It's $190 per unit to send it out for work to be done. So that's correct.
Okay, so really at the end of the day, I would just like to know, how much does it cost? How much will it cost us a year if we have someone come and sharpen this versus if we buy the equipment, just so we know the ROI?
Yeah, so the return on investment would be about 8.25 years, and that's based upon our 22 units, which is broken down into 2 ferry mowers, which include 5 cutting units, 2 greens mowers, which is 3 cutting units, and then 2 T mowers, which is also 3 units. So that's a total of the 22 units. And so if we send that out, typically we want to do a fairway or a T mower once a year. Green mowers, you'd like to do at least, twice a year, and preferably have the ability to do more, which is really where this becomes a really beneficial for us to have our own piece of equipment. If we just consider those minimums, that's $5,320 a year. So our return on investment at that is about 8.25 years. That does include a little bit of a labor time that I incorporated into that return on investment. And also we do offer some services to local municipal, or not municipal, but local golf courses that utilize us in the winter when we're on our downtime, and we charge them per unit and make some money back on that. So if we're doing that, that even could potentially, if we're bringing in $2,000 to $3,000 a year using an average cost of $2,500 a year, we could get a return on investment in 5.5 years.
How much do you charge the other folks?
$125. Covers our man hours as well as use of the equipment.
Versus if we were to hire this out, it would cost us $190. So we're giving that much of a discount for other folks?
Yeah, the idea behind that is that, you know, they would utilize us instead of sending it out, because we get a benefit out of that.
Yeah, well,
by the
the
way,
other thing is by us discounting it that much, we are now competing with for-profit companies that hire local folks that pay taxes, that do all these other things, and government should not be competing and potentially putting other companies out of business. So I would like, had you done this estimate before I sent in my email today? I mean, do you have like actual numbers that a sharpening company had sent you?
Yes, we did this work to determine what our approach should be on this.
Right.
There are no local vendors that do this, by the way. We would outsource this information to St. Louis, Chicago, or Minnesota. That's who we would be sending that to. So there's also an expense at packaging this once a year or twice a year and getting them to those locations to be done. This is pretty specialized equipment.
And
So
just to remind council, I'm sorry to interrupt, just to remind council, we're asking for replacement equipment. This is equipment we already have, we're looking to replace. We're asking for council to authorize replacement by acquiring used equipment that we think has about a 15-year useful life. Certainly if council wants us to reject bids and send our blades out to a private contractor, we can certainly do that. If council wants us to charge more to other golf courses to try to recoup more costs, we can do that. As Mr. Damry indicated, the amount we're charging does cover our staff time to sharpen blades, and generally we do that in the winter time. So again, we're making this recommendation, but we can go in whatever direction council sees fit.
Sure. Kind of my take on this is, now that I've learned that we're the only player in Central Illinois that's doing this, because other folks then, if we don't do it, they're going to have to ship their stuff off elsewhere. Knowing that we want economic development, we want small businesses, this would be something perfect for, a small business to pick up, because if we get out of it, now this market just opens up that they can get into it and do it. And we've got, we've actually helped a small business. So I am not in favor of this, now that I've learned that we're the only player in town, and if we get out of it, we can now help a business actually start, because they will have a customer that needs them right away. And I think that's kind of my thought on that. But if I get outvoted, then at least I would like us to charge something close to market rate, because our taxpayers in Normal are the only ones that have stepped up to buy this equipment. And, all these other municipalities are benefiting. Thank you.
Ms. Smith.
I would just like to commend the staff for finding a vendor that would provide us with used equipment at such a reasonable rate for us to do this in-house for a specialty service like golf courses. And that while this may be something that could be an attractive business for someone to pursue, the number of golf courses in Central Illinois may not support that effort. So I'm on the side of doing what is best to provide a service to the taxpayers. When we have golf courses, we're providing greens that are well maintained at a reasonable cost, and supplementing that cost by making use of the equipment where we can in an attractive price point to help underwrite the expenditures we've made. So I'm totally in support of this. Thank you.
I'm just going to piggyback on that and say that, golf nationwide is down. Municipalities that have courses are closing some courses and that. So my read on this is the equipment that is used out there may well be the result of that kind of activity. I know Peoria has closed a golf course. Other communities are considering that. So I could see where there'd probably be high quality equipment that goes to the market because of the reduction of courses and play in this country. Mr. Preston.
Thanks, Mayor. First, a question for staff. The new equipment, what's the expected life span? Should we have decided to have gone with the new rather than the used? What's the life cycle?
I think the life expectancy of a new piece of equipment is between 18 and 20 years. And I was trying to remember. Yeah, okay. These are 2-year-old pieces. So we're looking at 18 to 20 is probably a good life expectancy with a new piece of equipment. We're estimating 15 on the minimum. We really do think we'll get more out of what we did our last piece of equipment because of newer technology and the way they're doing the grinding. And so I don't think there's as much wear and tear on the units as there used to be. So we are expecting more than 15, really.
Yeah. I mean, in that sense, I think this is a clear winner. I would like to thank staff for bringing us something that is only 2 years old and has about a 15-year, maybe more lifespan, but is brought to us at a savings of about 33% over had we bought new. I mean, it reminds me of shopping for a car and you drive a new car up a lot and it loses X% of value right away, right? I feel like we're taking advantage of an opportunity to save money, but do so in a way that for the long period makes a lot of sense from an ROI standpoint. I also think that seeing as there are no local players who offer this, no private businesses or other publics that do, and it sounds like, if I understood correctly, the closest are in St. Louis, Chicago area, out of the Central Illinois region. I mean, I think it's great that we're making the best use of the equipment that we have that we're talking about replacing tonight, doing so in a way that brings an ROI to the taxpayers of Normal by utilizing some staff time in the winter that our staff will be working one way or another. And if we can fit these in and make a little money to offset the price, I just think it's a win all the way around and a smart move. So thank you.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yeah, I won't belabor this. I think a lot of it's been covered by you and others, but I do want to thank staff for being creative always and looking for a way to be frugal, but make sure that we're still getting the job done and looking for and finding a used piece of equipment, has been mentioned, is a very creative way to stretch the tax dollar as far as you can do it. And really appreciate you always looking out for that. So I'm supportive. Thanks.
Ms. Lorenz. You're on mute.
I want to put this in perspective for myself and my colleagues here. This is a $40,000 or so purchase I think we're talking about. And, we just unanimously approved a $600,000 water main and earlier a $900,000 sewer lining with no discussion at all. So, methinks Mr. Nord might just be a wee bit contrary on this one. Thank you.
Mr. Nord. You're on mute, Mr. Nord.
Yes, we're all kind of doing that. Was it $5,000 a year was the cost if we were to outsource this? Did I get that right?
5,320 is kind of what I did as a quick calculation.
Okay, so even if we were to delay this a year, that will add to the cost if we have to outsource this, just a small amount. But we have given lots of money to small businesses to incentivize them to help start up. And, that's the way that I look at this, is if the town forgoes doing this for a year, and a business starts up, great. If not, the worst thing we're out is a couple $1,000s. And then we can get equipment, a year from now. And, being an ag, he had people that came out and sharpened discs and sharpened all kinds of different real type of equipment. I don't know if they were the same type of equipment that golf courses use, but also if we're the only ones with golf course sharpening equipment in the area, you know, there's a whole lot of golf courses around that I just can't believe they're sending everything to us and we can do all that, you know, and keep up with everything else. So, you know, they are small dollars, but to a small business starting up, you know, somebody wanting to get into the mowing, like into a mowing company, they're not going to spend $40,000, you know, but yet they can create a business that thrives. So that's kind of the eye that I'm putting it in is, you know, economic development to start up a very small business. Thank you.
I guess, Mayor, I guess I would first indicate that we didn't say, I don't think we indicated we do service every golf course in Central Illinois. I think there are some that use our services, but I guess, Mr. Nord, your assumption is predicated on a small business starting up and charging us the price we're willing to pay. And I don't know that to be the case. So I guess I would suggest that if a small business is interested in getting into the golf course equipment blade sharpening business, to go ahead and give us a call, and maybe we'd be willing to sell them our equipment. But
well, are you willing to delay this? Because we delayed the garbage contract in hopes for a new business to start up that's coming before us. So would you be willing to do it with this one as well? And if nothing happens, then we go forward?
I think.
No, we're making our recommendation based on the information we have. We sought bids, we have responsive bids, and we're making a recommendation to council that we believe is appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
I think we're going into the weeds on this. It's the issue. Let's vote it up, vote it down. Please call the roll.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
No.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Kus.
Aye. The resolution is approved, and I did notice Ms. Lorenz laugh. I guess I did make a pun, didn't I?
I thought it was, or we're getting into the rough, one of the two.
That concludes our omnibus. We have one item of general orders, and that's an ordinance granting an amended special use permit to 501 Northtown Road. That is the Beyond Hello marijuana sales and dispensary.
Move approval.
Thank you. Is there discussion on this item? Mr. Nord?
Thank you. This property, I had asked, but I didn't get an answer about if this property had paid the sanitary sewer tap-on fee.
I thought I'd responded, but perhaps I didn't.
Well, I guess the answer that I got was that they were that it had been final platted, so or it's a lot of records, so there's no requirement to collect a fee. Let me just pull it from.
I don't know, Ms. Davison, can you respond to Mr. Nord's inquiry?
Yeah, this lot is already a lot of records, so it would have paid its fees many years ago when it was platted originally.
Okay, so it would have paid the sanitary sewer tap-on fee.
If one
If one applied.
Okay, because that's where I was going. This one on that sewer tap-on map shows that part of it may not, depending on if this lot has been broken up. So just another inconsistency with this sanitary sewer tap-on map and developers or owners not knowing what their costs will be. That's the only reason I brought that up.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
think we've conveyed their remaining fees that are due. So I think the developer is aware, but I understand your concern.
Please call the roll.
Mr. McCarthy,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mayor Kus,
Aye. The ordinance is approved. We have one item of new business, and that's a motion to approve an appointment to the Children's Discovery Museum Foundation Board.
Move approval.
Is there discussion on this item? Mr. Nord?
Yes, thank you. So we just found out that this appointment was coming before us here on Friday, found out who it was. The public, I don't believe the public even knows who the appointment is, do they?
The appointment hasn't been made.
Okay, so my concern is more with the process. We're voting on something that the public hasn't even had an opportunity to give public comment on. Is there any issue with this? Because, you know, in Bloomington, people are aware before someone's appointed and the public has the opportunity to comment.
In our process has been different than Bloomington. I think we've talked about that. Our process is based upon a recommendation by the mayor to the council for consideration, and we release information about the appointees after council approves.
And is that following the state process? Are we doing anything improper?
Well, I certainly don't think so. I wouldn't be recommending that. So, you know, I guess it would be up to the city council to decide if they wanted to change the process. Now I see that Mr. Day has turned his camera on, so maybe he's interested in making a statement.
If you mean by improper, if you mean illegal, the answer is no. This fully complies with any state laws.
Okay, so then it's up to the council, the folks here, if we want to let the public know in advance who is potentially going to be appointed to some board. So that decision rests on our shoulders. I would like us to have a conversation at some point to talk about that. I did reach out to this appointee, and to my surprise, the mayor and town staff had not interviewed the appointee. So that was surprising because now I don't even know what the criteria was to evaluate someone for this. I've come to find out, I mean, she's a very, very nice lady. I'm thankful she wants to help, but for the CDM, my only concern was the CDM is heavily funded by normal taxpayers, and this appointee lives in Bloomington. So she doesn't have the same skin in the game as normal taxpayers would have. You know, the CDM can spend as much money as normal taxpayers can afford, and we don't have the representation on their board to kind of look out for normal taxpayers with the same skin in the game as, you know, if they were actually in normal. I spoke with her at length about this, and she said that one of the things that she was hoping to do was to create or to generate more donations to help offset the cost that normal taxpayers pay to subsidize the CDM. So, you know, by her saying that, I will fully support her in that effort on the CDM to make that happen.
Mr. Nord,
that was my conversation.
All right, thank you for sharing that. Mayor, if it's okay, I'd like to point out the mission of the Children's Discovery Museum Foundation is specifically to raise funds and build relationships in support of the Children's Discovery Museum. So that is their purpose. That's what every board member signs up for, is to raise funds on behalf of the Children's Discovery Museum. I'm not sure what you mean in terms of town staff did not interview her. Certainly, our cultural arts director and CEO of the Children's Discovery Museum has certainly had communication with the appointee. So I'm not sure I agree with that statement that we haven't communicated with her.
Sure. I mean, this was just my conversation that happened earlier today. You know, she just found out that it was going to be today, and she had, you know, emailed her or submitted her application, hadn't heard anything until today. So, you know, this is all he said, she said, and I can't say what actually happened. I'm just basically repeating what I was told.
So there are a lot of hands up here, and I'm just going to caution people on this to say that it's difficult enough to get people to volunteer for boards and commissions. And I would ask that you keep that in mind if you want to continue to make comments here. If we're going to put people through the ringer to take a position on a board that raises money for the Children's Discovery Museum, it's going to be awfully difficult to fill those positions in the future. So, Ms. Cummings.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to start off because I have actually served as a member of the Children's Discovery Museum Board, and I felt like there was a lot of misinformation that was just provided. I think Ms. Reese did cover one of the items, which is the fact that we do raise money. They do raise money for the museum. It's not a free-for-all. We spend as much as the town can just give the CDM. Every board member works very hard and expected to work very hard to raise funds for the museum, especially for the exhibits, the replacement of exhibits. The town has covered costs for the employees, but the museum and its operations are highly funded by the donations it receives from the community. A point of also information and education, and this is stuff that's out there. You know, the way our town does these, I think some people are off mute because I'm hearing echoes. The way our town does nominations may be different than some others, but it's also a lot better than some. In many communities, the mayor just makes an appointment without any bringing it to the council at all. And that is in a sense, their prerogative. And what I mean by that is that they do have that ability to make those appointments. I like the fact that we're able to see them. Also, even when I got appointed, I didn't know that I had been appointed until after the vote, because I was told that you will know if you're in after the vote. And so there is a process. If people want to understand our process and know our process, I would suggest, the information is available. It is out there, or they could ask, a board member how it actually is done. But I think we need to not put so much pressure, because I think it will run good people away. And I think the mayor has alluded to that. I think if this kind of conversation would have come up when I was going to be a part of a board, I would have not ever done it. But it was the best thing that I've ever done, and I've enjoyed it. And to this day, I still highly support the CDM.
You're muted, Mayor.
Ms. Lorenz.
I just want to try to turn this to a more, excuse me, a more positive tone as well. Let's acknowledge the good work of our foundation. I'm sure they have thoughtfully put some thought into the skill set that they need for their board, and I commend them, and I commend the cultural arts staff for overseeing this process as well, bringing us a very capable candidate. And I just don't want that to get lost in all of this other. So thank you.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Cummings?
And interject.
Mr. Day.
Sorry,
Sorry,
when I talked about this being legal, I think it would be prudent for us to give the name of the candidate before the vote is called.
Oh.
It wasn't required to be on the agenda, but just before we take final action to cover the specifics.
Right. The conversation has been without the person's name, but I think we actually did that a couple times last year, and it slipped my mind. So I apologize for that. Mr. Day is accurate.
Go ahead, Mr. McCarthy.
The appointee is Miss Lauren Lurkins.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy,
Aye.
Mayor Kus.
Aye. The appointment is confirmed. Mr. McCarthy, if you'd give us a little background.
Sure. We're welcoming Miss Lauren Lurkins to the CDM Foundation Board. She's the Director of Environmental Policy for the Illinois Farm Bureau. She and her family have been Children's Discovery Museum members since 2013, and they're enthusiastic supporters of foundation events and fundraisers. Ms. Lurkins is a graduate of St. Louis University and Southern Illinois University School of Law. She's a member of the Illinois State Bar Association and serves as chair for the McLean County Regional Advisory Council. Ms. Lurkins will replace Gina Mandros, who had to vacate her seat before the final year of her term. Ms. Lurkins will be filling an open seat with a term expiring on June 30th, 2022.
Thank you. That concludes our business here tonight. Before taking a motion for adjournment, are there concerns? Ms. Smith?
Yes, and if I am straying into something that is not appropriate, I'm counting on council to stop me. But I had two concerns close to home. Earlier this year, the town of Normal had approved an intergovernmental agreement that was intended to provide an opportunity for Normal, Bloomington, McLean County residents to share the cost of recycling drop boxes at several locations. We learned this week that the McLean County Board Executive Committee had not approved this, but the full vote will come before the county board later this month, with those dates being 4/12 for the executive committee and 4/15 for the full committee. So as town of Normal residents and McLean County residents, if you have strong feelings about retaining these drop boxes and having them supported by all who use them and keeping waste out of the landfill, I urge you to reach out to the McLean County Board and voice your concerns and an opinion on the matter so that they have an informed opinion of residents that are affected by this. And on the state level, this state of Illinois is grappling with creating and affirming district maps following the 2020 census. And the census data will not be complete by the deadline set for the state. And so there's consternation about how best to configure these maps and who would be doing it, how they would be drawn. And it's a particularly thorny issue this year because there's a likelihood that Illinois will lose a congressional seat because of our population loss. And so if you are interested, Springfield will be hosting an in-person hearing on April 12th, and there are some virtual meetings as well. But to voice an opinion, participants must complete a witness slip available on the House website and email it to the committee indicating the hearing, which meeting you wish to attend and speak, and written testimony can be submitted at any time. So two matters I'm urging citizens to research and get involved if you have an interest in those particular topics. Thank you.
Ms. Cummings.
Thank you. I wanted to bring up, there will soon, and I'll probably mention it again if I think there's time in between, but there is a computer discount event coming up in our community for those who are in need of a computer. It will be Friday, April 23rd from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the ISU Alumni Center. In order to qualify, your household has to have low to moderate income, receiving government assistance, and family is affected by school closures due to COVID. There is a cost, but I also was told that there's a possibility of those who would like to make donations to cover the cost for those families who can't afford, even though it's a lower cost, who may not be able to afford it. I will also keep put this out there, and I believe the town might be able to get this information out as well. So if you are in need of a computer, especially with some of the students having been virtual or may do both, whatever may come down the pipe, this is an opportunity to get a computer for your household. Or also, I'm sorry, and there's also mobile hotspots available as well.
Mr. Preston.
Thank you, Mayor. Two items. The first is going to be a reminder probably for some and an announcement for others that may not have known or caught already that as of April 1st, just a few days ago, Uptown outdoor dining is back. That's something that, of course, people will recall. We started last year as a result of the pandemic, and it sounds like we have 18 different businesses, restaurants in the Uptown area who are wanting to take advantage of that. Plan as of now is that will continue through the warm months and into the fall. So a thank you to those restaurants and businesses that are doing it, and to people who enjoy that kind of atmosphere. Today would have been, was a perfect day to take advantage of that, though it would have been for me, because sadly I did not take advantage of the nice day and spend time doing that in Uptown, but soon enough. Second is, while it feels weird to say this now, this week and this time of year, it is technically the official start to ISU's homecoming week. And I just wanted to acknowledge that, as I know we are all big Redbird supporters, though it certainly looks different this year. And all the more so without a football game on Saturday. Homecoming week is always something special. So congrats to the ISU community for that, and best wishes for the rest of this week and going into the weekend. Thanks.
Mr. McCarthy.
Mr. Preston stole my first one on outdoor dining. Good job, Scott. My second, though, is just a public announcement awareness. The Ecology Action Center has a brand new program called Tree Corps. It's a tree planting initiative in our community, and they're aiming to significantly increase our tree population in the community. They've got a goal of 10,000 new trees a year. They'd love the support for buying trees or getting your hands dirty and planting trees. They're working in partnership with the Parklands Foundation to plant over 4,000 trees in the Moore land tract on the Parkland Foundation land in April. They're getting started this weekend. If you feel like planting or donating some trees, roll up your sleeves, put on your gloves. They'd love to help. If you're interested to find out more, it's at the ecologyactioncenter.org website. To get any more information or get involved. Thanks.
And Mr. Norrell.
Thank you. My comments have to do with us having a conversation to create some resolutions at the council level. These resolutions, well, I've been in conversation with the ICMA. Ms. Reese had forwarded me their contact info, or the way to get in touch with them. And I've had conversations with them about some issues that we've experienced, which would be some council members are aware of things that are going on and others may not be, and how we address this. Some of the recommendations would be that we have a resolution, and there's pros and cons to this. Resolution could be that the town staff have to be pulled out of any politics or choosing who they share information with. So it could be whenever the town staff respond to a council member or the mayor, that everyone is CC'd. That way there is no ability for members not to know what's going on. They did agree that like 2-on-1 meetings, it's just very hard to ensure that everybody gets the same information there because just of the nature of how they work. And that's something that we need to do at a council level. They can provide us with sample resolutions that other folks have used, or we can make up something of our own and deal with it that way. But it is unfair for staff to not know what they should do or who they should tell information to. Another piece would be, whenever we talk and we hear that somebody doesn't know what's going on, we should take it upon ourselves to either, in a meeting, say, hey, wait a minute, you may not know what's going on. Here's information that we have that we know this is coming and we know this development is coming, and that's why we're spending money, because it then becomes more of an issue when we actually start spending taxpayer dollars and we're not aware of we've not been given the full disclosure of the reasons why and the conversations the town staff have had with things that are coming down the pipe, and then that's why we're spending money. One example would just be, the Rivian project. We just learned that the town staff had conversations for the past 9 months, and we didn't know about that, or at least all of us did not know about it. And we've spent money with a College Avenue design study, that has that incorporated in it. We've got this water extension. We should all be aware of, what we're spending this money towards. Another thing would be with these council comments. The mayor has said, and he's told me that we agreed to limit this to one comment topic for 5 minutes. And here tonight, there's been several folks that have had 2 comments that or 2 different topics. So this is something that's inconsistent. We need to just make these resolutions so that way things are consistent for everyone, and that that everybody knows the rules and their comments. So I would like to have that conversation because, as people cycle in and out, they shouldn't have to have these same issues. We should just solve them and then move forward. But thank you and have a good evening.
Mayor, if I could make a comment, if that's all right. Go ahead, Mayor. Sorry.
Just a moment, please. So Mr. Nord, just to be clear, and maybe I wasn't clear enough on that, what we agreed on in public comment was one 5-minute session, not one object or not one thing. It was one 5-minute session, unlike regular comment during the course of the meeting where there are two sessions. So
I'll have to go back and review that audio, and you might be right and I might be wrong, but thank you. If that's the case, then that's the case, but let's put it down in writing. Then we don't have to rely on our memories.
I'd appreciate it if you let me finish my comment. So that was what the council agreed on, and it was in my email. And I'm not trying to split hairs with you. I just want to be clear on that. Ms. Reese.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to comment in regard to Mr. Nord's statements that, referencing staff not being consistent in information we share with council. I've responded to Mr. Nord, I think, many, many times with the same information I've shared with other council members, and each time I've indicated specifically in regard to the example used of Rivian. I've explained to council, staff talks to many people, many developers, many property owners all the time. Nothing is for certain until something gets filed. And so what I've shared with council has been absolutely truthful, and I've shared the message with every one of you that the projects the town staff has recommended, that the city council has supported in regard to water main extension, a potential water main extension, currently a water study underway, a sewer study underway, a road project, and where we've sought grant funds. Every one of those instances, we came to council with a recommendation to move forward in anticipation of economic development. And that story has never changed. So I will be happy to work with council members, of course, anytime to help put together something in writing if we need to have something in writing in terms of how communication gets to you from my office, from town staff, and the like. But I feel like we continue to have the same conversation over and over and over again.
Ms. Lorenz.
I recall that the understanding is one swipe at the apple for 5 minutes. So if you want to pack one item in there for 5 minutes or 5 items in there for 5 minutes, that was my understanding. So the other thing is, you know, I feel like you kind of tossed out a grenade, Mr. Nord, on this business of, you know, staff had conversations with Rivian and didn't tell us. I'm glad Ms. Reese clarified that, you know, they have conversations all the time that amount to nothing. And, you know, but when they do start to gain traction, we are the first to learn about it through the mechanism of the 2-on-1. And there is built-in consistency to that 2-on-1 practice that's done by many municipalities across the country, and especially here. We all operate off of the same agenda. A printed agenda is given to each of us, and we meet in twos. And so if something is being withheld from one meeting of two, from another meeting of two, then they're not following the agenda. And I've never seen that happen where the full agenda has not been covered. It has always been covered. And if they're withholding information from a certain person, as you suggest, then they're actually withholding it from two. And so far, you're the only person saying that you feel like things are being withheld. So the logic just doesn't stand up. And I guess I would also remind you that it is incumbent upon you to stay for the whole meetings. I understand that there have been a few occasions where you have left abruptly, perhaps before the agenda was completed. I would encourage you to stay for the whole time. Thank you.
So I'm noting that this is obviously an issue here. We will likely be having council retreat this fall. And I think this is something that deserves some attention. Let's clear the air on that when we have that session. Motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mayor Kus.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.